Hello and welcome to another video. So I haven't done this deck for a while. I'm still ill, which of course is normal because I record batches. The last 3 videos have been recorded one after the other. But this deck is Burn Rune. You've probably seen my Burn Rune video. If you haven't, I recommend going and watching it since I don't sound like I'm completely blocked up. But this Burn Rune deck, I actually was a big fan of it. I still kind of am. It's a lot of fun. It does a really good job, and you can pull wins right out of nowhere with just crazy spell combinations, and that's a lot of fun to do. Plus, it's a little out of left field. A lot of people are expecting you to go a different route with decks, being more spell boost orientated and stuff, and this deck still takes that kind of engine, but focuses more on the earth side of it, where you can get some really crazy golem plays, some really good knowledge seeker plays, and doesn't focus too much on any one card. It really just gives a little bit of everything to deal burn damage. So hopefully we can get right into this and enjoy it. So this deck I find to be reasonably consistent. It's got a little bit of risk to it. We are going up against Dragon first, which is actually not too bad a matchup, to be honest, for rotation, but the risk really is just not having the cards right when you need them. So not so much bricking in the same sense of a normal deck. I found that this was more, I have a lot of potential, I just can't get around a certain card. And that's usually the only problem I run into with it. Otherwise, most of the time, you can do pretty much anything you want with the deck. As long as you've got the right setup and you can go into a match knowing what you're aiming for, usually you can make that happen. Since it has a really nice draw engine in it, using the Fates, the Missiles, all the standard spell boosty draw cards, while also having a lot of damage potential, which is usually reasonably unblockable. There's not a lot of decks that can handle the damage output of a Burn Rune deck, and there's not a lot of decks that ever could. Healhaven is one that does a really nice job, but still can suffer from just being straight up removed. So these Jet Broom Witches don't serve much purpose other than generating spells and being a good early game play, since you honestly don't have much to play between turn 1 and turn 5. They're definitely the more awkward of turns for Burn Rune overall. And they honestly got a really nice hand with this Anne Rose, especially going up against this deck. Since all they have to do now is take out some of these brooms, and we're pretty right. And my turn 5 play is most likely just going to be straight up Golem. That's probably one of the best things I can honestly do. Turn 5 Golem gets those Earth Sigils, which is exactly what we're going to want, plus we can take full advantage of him. Of course he is counterable, although in this deck, him getting countered isn't necessarily the end of the world, it's just a little bit of a slow delay. And the Twin Blade Mages have actually been quite amazing. The 2 damage pings to followers definitely help you get past a lot of wards and problem cards, while at the same time being extremely powerful. And there we go, Cocytus, great. So now we can actually go for some interesting line of play. We've got 2 1-drop spells, well 3 once you count the Golem, so that's actually pretty nuts. That's a spell boost of 3 to everything that's in our hand currently, excluding of course the non-spell boostable spells. And with the Fates costing 0, we can bring out a few more, so there's 5, plus Witch Snap, that's 6. And we've still got plenty of room here to play an Earth Sigil, so that was a pretty nuts play, to be honest. And we can actually go for 4 more damage, leaving our opponent just on 8. Even though they got a good early Prince of Cocytus, handling that kind of damage output is definitely not easy. And we are not far off lethal at this point. With a Twin Blade Mage in our hand and the Clark Seeker, we've actually got a good damage output right here. Although I definitely want to be able to go face with the Ritual and have some good damage output with the Golem, which actually ended well. I could have been in some trouble if I didn't get both those hits. But really, I think it would have just been more of a delay than anything. There's only 1 card probably that would have helped our opponent, and that would have been the Drain card. Otherwise, we would have been pretty right. Next up, we're playing against some Havencraft. So Havencraft has been dropping in popularity a little bit, at least according to most statistics out there from some of the more stat-followed groups that I keep an eye on. There's been quite a drop in Vengeance Blood and Haven, which from what they've mentioned, I can't quite remember the guy's name. It's not super easy for me to go off of, but their Twitter analysis is pretty accurate usually. They do a really good job of collecting all the information, and seems like the Haven and Blood players are mostly dropping off due to Portal and Sword, I think it was. I think it was Sword. Coming into the meta more. So we start off this game pretty well, actually. Double Earth Sigils out early is not bad. Pity our Golem play can't come out on turn 4, but I mean, we've got some okay options for turn 4 play. The Tetra in particular is actually really good. I don't mind using Tetra to its fullest advantage here with just going for the Evo. It's one thing this deck doesn't use too much of. Tetra's really the only card in the deck that really takes full advantage of an actual Evo effect. Everything else is mainly just Evoing for stats in every way, shape and form. Flawed Saint with an Evo, probably going to trade into the Tetra if I had to guess. Now we've got a good chance to go for our Golem with little to nothing on board. Oh, sorry, Eleanor's the other card that actually has a good Evo. I completely blanked that Eleanor was even in this deck because I haven't actually needed it in the few games that I was playing today. Plus, I rarely saw it. So there's actually two good Evo cards overall. Tetra and Eleanor both producing cheap spells that do damage. So this is actually fairly promising. We can go for a really nice turn here, especially with another Tetra. I did decide to wipe the board this time around though. I go for some decent spell boosting as well. Plus, since they left our Golem up, that's just basically a free 7 damage hit there. So 9 damage this turn is nothing to sneeze at. No pun intended. And at this point, really it doesn't matter what they do. We've got Twin Blade Mages set up, the Verdict Ritual set up, Delta Cannon. Just the Ritual and Delta Cannon alone are pretty crippling. I mean, that's 5 damage, almost half of their total health right now. That's before I really do anything else. And if I really wanted, I could have just went straight up Golem play and probably tried to just lethal them that way, but I decided to go about it a little more of a complicated way, but a way that I could definitely guarantee lethal without any RNG factor at all. So that was good. And there it is. Not a bad way to pull it off. And like I said, this deck does a really good job of having a lot of options and working their way around them. So while this deck definitely can take a little bit to get used to sometimes, it is still an overall really good deck and I really enjoy playing it. It's also not too bad as far as cost. 6 legendaries, 7 legendaries with Hunter of course. Not that Hunter is entirely necessary, you could probably drop it and just add in something else, to be honest. I'm not really sure what at this point because we're pretty much running 3 of everything else, so you can't just top something up, but which I know you could probably even swap out. So overall, you can get away with 6 legendaries, making it a very cheap deck. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time, guys, see ya.